This video is about the 1961 book, The Bronze Bow by Elizabeth George Spear, which won the Newbery Award Medal for the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children. The question in this video I asked is the character Simon the Zealot in the book based off of the apostle Simon Barjona in the Bible? Before I answer this question, I have to tell you the plot of the book. I highly recommend this book to any of you. The book takes place in roughly around the time of Jesus, where a 13-year-old boy named Daniel runs away from his indenturement as a blacksmith into the hills behind his city, and joins a group of bandits led by a man named Ross. The book starts 5 years later, when the boy is 18 years old. He sits looking out of the cave and sees a boy and a girl eating a picnic. He goes to talk to them, and the boy's name is Joel. They become friends, and eventually Joel moves to Capernaum, a city in Galilee in Israel. So Daniel goes there, and he recruits Joel and his sister Malthus to join his group of bandits. And the symbol for them to know each other is the bronze bow, henceforth the name of the book. So later, his friend Simon the Zealot, who this video is about, tells Daniel his grandmother wants to see him. He goes back to the village to see his grandmother and his sister, Leah. When he goes there, he dreads the place. He wishes he could go back to the mountains, and that's exactly what he does. Later, he finds out his grandmother is dying. So he goes there, and when his grandmother dies, he decides to take care of his sister Leah. Eventually, Daniel recruits a group of about 20 boys, and he wanted to reveal them to Ross, the leader. But when Joel gets captured, Ross refuses to rescue him. So Daniel's team splits apart from Ross's group of bandits, and they go rescue Daniel. After this, Simon and Joel are also followers of Jesus. So after they rescue Joel, Daniel becomes the leader, and eventually Leah gets sick, and he has to call Jesus and Jesus comes to help her, heal her, and then when he leaves, he lets a Roman soldier who's been seeing Leah see her again, even though he hates the Romans because they killed his parents and Leah's. So That's the end of the book. That's very basic. I left out a lot of details because I'd recommend reading it. It's a lot better. It's one of the best books I've ever read. So I'm sure you can already see why I think Simon is inspired by Simon Barjona. So Simon Barjona in the Bible is only mentioned a few times, the same as Nathan, another apostle, which no one knows much about. So, he's not the same as Simon Peter, though. He's a completely different person. One of the verses he's in mentions that he was ashamed to say he didn't. When people asked him if he was, when Jesus was crucified, if he was with one of the apostles, he denied, just like one of the other apostles. He was part of the original 12. Simon, hold on. In the book, Simon was a blacksmith who he was a blacksmith. He was also the apprentice to the blacksmith that Daniel was indentured to. But he didn't run away, of course. He leaves his shop to go follow Jesus full time as a disciple, and he hands it away to Daniel. The Bible also some versions of the Bible also refer to the disciple as Simon the zealot. Some people say that, well, first I need to explain who the zealots were. The zealots were viewed as a radical group of bandits, basically, or, well, they didn't have to be bandits, just ordinary people in Jerusalem at the time, who they believed they hated the Romans, and they hated the Romans and taxes. That was the basic rundown of their beliefs. So some people think that Jesus, I'm talking about the Bible, real life, and not the book. The book is fiction, by the way. So I'm talking about, some people say that Jesus chose Simon the Zealot to be one of his disciples, to contrast to Matthew, who's a former tax collector, to show that he was accepting of all groups of people, not just certain people. So, sorry, let me gather my words. Okay, Simon Barjona in the Bible is rarely spoken of. No one really knows much about him in the Bible. So I believe, since it doesn't say anything about his backstory, it just mentions his name and what he does a couple times, I think the Bronze Bow has taken this character and given him a fictional backstory. Whether that is true or not, no one knows. So, I think that Simon the Zealot is an adaptation, in the book, is an adaptation of the character from the Bible. Since he has no backstory, you can't really mess him up that bad, because no one knows what his real story is. Similar to the way the Chosen TV show did it. Since they didn't know the story of Simon and Nathan in the Bible, they came up with their own ideas, their own stories for these unknown apostles. And that's why I think Simon in this book is supposed to be Simon from the Bible. Specifically Simon Barjona instead of Simon the Zealot. So, I highly recommend this book. It's a great book. I can't remember how much it cost. I apologize for that, but I suppose you could buy it on Amazon. It's probably there, as are many other things. But it's one of the best books I've ever read, and I believe it would be good for not just children, adults too. So I'd like to end the video off of that. So if you'd like, please subscribe and like my videos. If you don't, that's okay.